This is something that I wish I would have known when I first moved to Tennessee. It would have saved me a lot of money. We're shooting a wedding today, and the last couple of weddings we've done have been like elopements or not traditional weddings. So I'm excited to do get back into the groove of things, because elopements are always a little bit different. And then we did a couple of other shoots that weren't weddings whatsoever. And weddings are the things that we do the most. So all that being said, I'm excited to get back into kind of the swing of things. A little bit nervous. I sound like an old man saying this, but I am currently dealing with some back problems from the flights. When I turned 30, I started getting issues like that with back problems. If I'm being completely honest, that's probably the only thing that I'm a little worried about today, that I'm not going to be as fast, but other than that, totally fine. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're actually going to look at apartments in Murfreesboro. We're going to look at apartments in Murfreesboro, not for us, but for my parents. My parents might be moving from California to here for a bunch of reasons. But all that being said, we're going to look for them at apartments in Murfreesboro, and I thought it would be kind of helpful if you're thinking about moving here, or if you're thinking of moving anywhere really, kind of what I look for, at least for apartments, and what apartments actually look like in Murfreesboro. One thing that you really have to be careful with, and I didn't know this until we actually moved here, is in the South, you have to really be aware of cigarette smoke. And if you have like any kind of asthma, or if it bothers you at all, that's like the top thing that you have to really be careful with. Even if the house is nice, but it smells like smoke, I personally kind of veer away from it. Our first apartment did have a pretty bad cigarette smoke, and we were able to get it out, but it was mostly because we were already committed to that lease. And honestly, it's easier if you have the option between one that doesn't smell like smoke and one that does. I would honestly just opt for the one that doesn't, because there's always going to be like an underlying thing. You can do things to mask it, but it's difficult to get out of. And that's something I never dealt with before moving to Tennessee. This house smells like smoke. That's why I bring that up. May have been just how I was brought up and where I grew up in the country. And I mean, if it is, then please let me know in the comments. And if it's different where you live, then please let me know, because I think it's just fascinating. But for me, when I was in California, you pretty much knew what parts of towns were, if it was like a bad area or if it was a good area, and they pretty much stayed consistent overall. But in Tennessee, it's very, very different. It literally can go sometimes block by block and even house by house. And because of that, the importance of really going to check things out it's kind of a must. And it's tricky where it gets tricky is when you have to move out of state, or you're moving from out of state, because you really don't know what you're going to get. And I think personally, after being here for a while and seeing everybody move in, I think that's really what is kind of going on with a lot of these people from moving from California. Just to be as unbiased and down the middle as I can, I think they see that it's cheaper, but they don't really know what they're getting, because they're kind of buying it sight unseen. One of the things that I really did learn quickly when we first started renting houses in Tennessee is the houses in Tennessee are very different than the houses in like California. For example, California, you pretty much get a fenced in backyard and you have your own little private space. But a lot of times the lots or the backyards are a lot smaller. Versus Tennessee, a lot of times it's like this, where it either doesn't have a fence at all, or if it does have a fence like this one, it's just going to be, you're going to be able to see into your neighbors' yards. But the nice thing about it is the backyards are a lot bigger, like this. Like normally this would be 2, maybe 3 California like houses versus just one with a big backyard, and there's a lot of big trees too. That's something that I kind of noticed, and I enjoy having the bigger backyard and everything. I'm not a fan of having wide open fences, but I mean, yeah. Anyway, this is like house number 3, 4 that we've seen, and we've seen 2 condos or apartments. If I'm being completely honest, I think they're leaning towards a house, which I would too, honestly. Apartments are kind of all the same, but houses is really where the character and stuff kind of starts to change. And yeah. And sometimes you get really weird old houses where the layout is just, it doesn't make any sense. Like this house has a basement and a cellar, and it has a full floor. You know those really like the haunted movies that you watch when you're a kid? It's that kind of attic. I've been trying to talk them into renting this place because I think it's really cool, and filming here would be really, really fun. But they're not going for it, which I understand. I can't. This place is amazing though. We had a mishap with a monopod. Actually, we didn't have a mishap. We hired somebody and it doesn't work anymore. So we had to order a new one, and I've been a fan of the company Newer for a while now, so we decided to give their stuff a try. Also, it was a lot because the Manfrotto version of this was like $300, and this was $100. So, if it's any good, I'll let you know. It'll be linked down below if you want to check it out. But I have high hopes for this guy. Look, it comes with this fancy little thing protecting the fluid head. It has, ooh, I like that. Oh, it has 2 different ways to. It has 2 different like positions you can clamp these guys with the feet down. So this is the first one, and the second one is This does come with a fluid head also, which is why we wanted it, because I use the fluid head for weddings and stuff like that. It's just a lot better than a gimbal, in my opinion. You know, I used to really, Savannah really wanted, used to always she was very, you should use a gimbal. And I honestly never really liked gimbals all that much, mostly just because I felt confined with the camera. So I figured out a way how to shoot stable without having to use the gimbal. Honestly, what I really do is I walk. The way I walk like I roll my feet, kind of like I used to be in marching band. That's what you do to keep you. Anyway, I do that, and then I also have active stabilization on our Sony, and that typically is good enough to not have to use a gimbal. But for wedding ceremonies and stuff like that, where I need to pan and stuff, I have been using a monopod with the fluid head, and this is for $100, this isn't that bad. I'm very, very impressed. Today we're shooting a wedding, but that's not until 1. We have to leave here at 12, but that's not until 1, and there's the weddings like this, there's really not a ton that you can do in the mornings, at least for me. So we just 9 times out of 10 we end up playing video games, which is what we're doing. Yesterday I didn't film anything, but we pretty much spent most of the day looking at houses for my parents again. We actually there's something else we did, and I'll share it in next week's video. I'm pretty excited about it, and we actually might be getting the thing next week, and it was completely out of the blue. Any event, yesterday we spent most of the day looking at houses for my parents, and I decided not to film it just because it's pretty much more or less what you've already seen. It's just with Tennessee, I found with places like California, where you have like a major city center, there's kind of like a vibe or kind of like a style house that is there. And this goes for apartments, houses, and condos. They all have like their own little thing, and they're all pretty consistent from condo to condo or house to house. With Nashville, it's completely different, where it's very different. Block by block, which is why like it's even more important to be able to go and smell it, go and be able to see what you may like about the neighborhood or the house, or what you may not, because each house is so different. And I think it's just because of the amount of like just different kind of people that have come here throughout the years, both old and new. It makes it you just have to go see the houses to see if you actually enjoy them, versus some place like California where they don't have a lot of new construction. It's pretty standard, and you pretty much know what to expect. Obviously, you still want to go look, but if you don't, it's not the end of the world. But I would definitely not want to buy something here without being able to see it, just because of all the reasons that I've mentioned before earlier in this video. I hope that makes sense.